I'm Casey, and this is Jams, a channel where I talk about a new piece of music every week. This week, we're talking about Conan Gray's debut album, Kid Krow. So if you don't know who Conan Gray is, I highly recommend checking out all of his music. While this is his first album, like full album, he has a couple of EPs out. He definitely has a significant discography for someone so young, but I highly recommend checking out all of his music, not just his album, because it's all absolutely incredible. And before I get into the album, I just want to say, I have it on vinyl, and I just want to show you how pretty it is. You didn't pull it out. Look at how pretty this is. Look at how pretty this is. Like, that's the mark of a good musician when you make gorgeous vinyls. So this album was released March 20th of 2020, making it a Pisces, and given the characteristics of a Pisces, they are emotional, versatile, and unique, and given the contents of this album, I would 100% say that this album is a certified Pisces. The thing that I think is absolutely amazing about Conan Gray's songwriting ability is his way of bringing you back to the best parts of high school, or the most romantic with a capital R side of high school. And what I mean by that is he writes a lot of songs about unrequited love, being with your friends, the stress of not being the one that your crush likes, and all the kind of stuff, the emotional roller coaster that is high school, but he writes about it in this really beautiful way where it doesn't feel like that awkward, weird stage that we all know high school really was. Rather, it gives us a romanticized version of everything that we went through in high school. Basically, this album is the perfect soundtrack to a coming-of-age movie. And what I think is interesting is that this album actually has a song for pretty much every occasion. I mean, except for Requited Love, which is a bummer. But it has breakup songs. It has songs about your crush not liking you back. It has songs about being with your friends. It has songs about being scared of moving away from your friends. It has songs about that weird in-between kind of relationship that you have with someone where you're not dating, but you're definitely more than friends, but you don't really like how they treat you in public, but you're definitely more than friends, and you don't really know how to feel, and you feel very conflicted. It has all of these nuanced songs, which is why I think it perfectly represents how it felt going through high school, but like I say, it's a romanticized version, so it's all the aspects of what we went through in high school, all the motifs, all the big themes, but presented in this really romantic kind of way. And when I say romantic, I do mean capital R romantic. Like, there aren't romance songs to this album, but the way that he portrays heartbreak and heartache and unrequited love and being with your friends and fear of leaving home is all very poetic, and the songs lyrically and instrumentally are beautiful. So that's what I mean by like romantic, not love. And when I say that this album has a song for basically every occasion, what I mean is that it really has a very interesting and pretty accurate way of giving a voice to all the really confusing and multifaceted relationships you have when you're growing up. Nothing is ever straight and to the point. Nothing is ever solely love. Nothing is ever unrequited love. Nothing is ever cut and dry, leaving home, saying goodbye to your friends. It's very conflicting. You have, for example, the song Heather, a beautiful song, heartbreaking. A song about your crush liking someone else, and it's a song that is so filled to the brim with heartache, and you immediately understand where he's coming from, and you've been there before because you've liked someone who doesn't like you back. But it's not that simple because you see her, Heather, or whoever your Heather is, and you understand why this person likes her. And so it's that kind of like double-edged sword of like, you don't like me, but I know why you like her and I'm not like her. And that's what I mean by the fact that this album, while it has a song for every occasion, it's not two-dimensional. It's not straight and to the point. It's not, I like you and I wish you liked me. And that's exactly what it feels like when you're growing up and you're going through middle school and high school and you feel all these conflicting emotions about your friends and your crushes and your home life and your parents. And he puts that all into songs that on average are like 3 minutes. And due to this kind of three-dimensional aspect that Conan Gray gives us in his songs about these topics, to me, the song feels very much like diary entries. Like you're reading someone's experiences while they're growing up, and they're so vulnerable and raw, and it definitely comes from a place of experience. And when we're listening to the songs, we've been there too. We can identify that because we've definitely felt that way. And it just feels like it's ripped from a young adult novel where you get the excerpts of the character's diary, or that shot in a coming-of-age movie where they pan over the diary and you see them writing about why their crush doesn't like them, or why they pretend that they don't know them when they're in public, like in the song Wish You Were Sober. Like, it just feels very diary-esque and juvenile, but not in a negative way. I know that juvenile makes it seem like it's a negative, like it's childish, but it's juvenile in the same way that this album brings us back to high school, in a romantic sense. It's not negative whatsoever. There's nothing about this album that is childish or juvenile in the standard way that we define those words. Rather, it's extremely romantic. It reminds you of how you felt when you were juvenile and childish, and when you felt everything so extremely. And it's like in coming-of-age movies, those are people acting juvenile, but they're portrayed in a completely romanticized way that just makes it beautiful to watch and makes this album beautiful to listen to. Another thing that I want to point out that makes it more aligned to high school and kind of that juvenile, childish mindset is Conan Gray's sprinkling of like very morbid details into everything, into all the songs. Like in Heather, there's a line where it's like talking about how beautiful she is, but at the same time I kind of wish she were dead. And there are a bunch of other lyrics scattered throughout the album that are pretty morbid. And what immediately struck me about that is like, not that he actually wishes these things on anyone, but like when you think of millennial and Gen Z humor, not to get like that analytical, but when you think about their sense of humor, I say they as if I'm not a part of that, but it's pretty morbid. We talk about death a lot, and it's like funny and relatable, and we like diminish the idea of death in our day-to-day lives when we talk to our friends. And so I feel like Conan Gray sprinkling that kind of attitude throughout the lyrics throughout the album just kind of highlights that age group to me. But that's also very analytical. This album has two moods for me. Basically, one, driving with your best friends with the windows down in the middle of summer right before you all leave for college. Or two, leaving a party, feeling dejected, slightly tipsy, and laying alone in your bed in the dark holding a pillow. And I love that it does both. It doesn't really go in the middle at all, but I admire that. I admire its ability to delve into both extremes, and it makes for a really interesting listening experience. So now we get to the coveted question of how do I rank these songs? This is how I rank the songs. Right here. They're all really good. I know I say that a lot, but like, they are, you know? Like, it's hard to separate the songs and all that because everything is like a whole listening experience. And I would say that if you were going to listen to this album, I would say listen all the way through. But if you're not that kind of person, I would at least say to end with The Story, because The Story is an absolutely gorgeous song. And now, the second coveted question of why did I put that song as number one? I put Little League as number one because to me, it encompasses everything that I've been saying about this album. It makes me reminisce about high school and about doing dumb things with my friends and just feeling carefree, yet a little overwhelmed, a little bittersweet. It just reminds me of that year before leaving for college. And I feel like it really captures that kind of romantic coming of age vibe that I think that this album really hones in on. But if you want to cry or something, I would say listen to The Story or Heather. Those are also really good. So that's Conan Gray's debut album, Kid Krow. I haven't figured out why it's called Kid Krow. I mean, crows, a herd of crows is called a murder. We have that morbid detail. He's still kind of a kid. Maybe there's something there, but I don't know. Either way, for a debut album, this guy really came out of the gates swinging, and I absolutely loved every second of it. And I am a little biased because I have loved his music in the past, but to me, this was completely different than what he's put out before. While instrumentally and musically, it has the same kind of motif. I think the themes that he touched on, he really went into a very real and personal place with this album. At least that's how it comes across to me. So if this is his debut album and he managed to hit it out of the park with this one, I'm excited to see what he comes up with next. Also, I just recommend following him on social media and stuff like that because he seems really great. I've listened to interviews with him and the kid's hilarious. It just, like, dry Gen Z humor, very real, very to the point. Great. Also, good fashion sense. Love that. So that's that. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with my rank, if you're going to listen to this album, if you've listened to it before. Let me know what I should review next. You can follow me on my social medias. It's in the description below. And you can let me know what you think, basically. But either way, I'll be back next week with another album. Bye.